Hello and welcome back to the James Kennedy Podcast, and guess what? This episode marks 1 year to the day since I started doing this damn thing. Man, what a year it's been, Jesus Christ. You know, as I said in the very first episode, my presumption was that I would do 3 of these things and then just forget to do a 4th, and that would be the end of it. But man, here we are, 1 year later, still trucking, and Jesus Christ, I had no idea that it would go the way that it's gone. We have had some incredible guests on this thing since it started, and I want to give a massive thank you to everybody that's given their time so generously to come and speak with me on the show. And it's a real treasure trove of insight and information and food for thought developing on this thing now. So if you're new to the podcast, please have a nose through the previous episodes, because we've covered a ton of stuff on this thing now, from, the war in Ukraine to nutrition to climate change, the music industry, Israel and Palestine, Spotify, mental health, relationships, protest and activism. Dude, there's a fucking whole shitload of stuff on this thing, so go and have a look through. And if you are new to the podcast, please do subscribe and give us a follow so you don't miss any more of these awesome episodes, because there is a ton more shit coming up and I don't want you to miss any of it. And while we're on the subject of following things, my band James Kennedy and the Underdogs have started announcing some shows, baby. It's been a long winter, man, including being censored and shadow banned and having my video taken down off YouTube. Having an album called Make Anger Great Again that comes out a month before Donald Trump is running for re-election is probably not a smart move. And my album was essentially crushed by the algorithms. Twitter actually just mailed me half an hour ago confirming that they did actually shadow ban me, the motherfuckers. YouTube told me that, the video for The Power was shocking, even though, there's nothing shocking about it at all. So it's been a tough road for me, man, to get that album out. So and we've had a lot of hurdles with the band as well, personal problems of things, which have given us a few false starts. So I'm looking very much forward now to getting out there in the summertime and kicking some fucking asses and making some noise, and I hope to see you all there. So if you're not on any of the pages, go and check out James Kennedy UK on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. James Kennedy stuff on YouTube to catch up on the tunage, and hopefully we'll get to see you all really, really soon. Now, speaking of awesome guests, we have got a good one for you guys today, and I'm so thankful to today's guests for squeezing us in, because they are super crazy busy right now. Now, I can't imagine I need to explain to anyone listening to this who Enter Shikari are. I mean, unless you've been living on Mars for the past 10 years, then you know exactly who I'm talking about. I'm joined today by the singer Rou Reynolds, and there's a ton of stuff I want to ask him and get into, including something that many Enter Shikari fans have made me aware of online in no uncertain terms: the fact that our logo, my band's logo, and their logo is essentially exactly the same. So I'm going to gingerly approach that issue with Rou, and I hope he doesn't set a bomb off under my ass. So let's get down to it. We are honored to be joined today by the one and only Rou Reynolds, singer and songwriter in the fucking incredible sonic juggernaut that is the mighty Enter Shikari. Author, producer, creative visionary, and wearer of many an enviable hairstyle. Rou, thanks so much for stopping in, brother. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you very much. Lovely introduction.
Well, I'm glad to hear it, man, because I know how crazy busy you always are. So what's happening right now? What's going on?
Oh, yeah, all sorts. Our album is basically kind of a month away now. So it's, everything's just amping up. Loads of press, loads of doing the final video shoots for the next 2 singles.
Nice.
Trying to get the next leg of shows, the set list all sorted and stuff. So lots of programming. Yeah, firefighting is what I've come to call it. You're just, you get one thing off your to-do list done and 6 more things coming.
Yeah, I can't imagine, man. That all sounds awesome though, dude. And I imagine that you're probably quite well adapted to that workload now, because you're a band that has been crushing it quite relentlessly for over 20 years now. And the vibe I get is that you're all a very hands-on band. And as far as I'm aware, you've spent much of your career as an independent band. Is that right? Or have I got the wrong end of the stick?
No, yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, well, I think before we even released anything properly, there was, of course, the sort of 4 years of touring up and down the UK and recording and releasing our own EPs and things. But then, Take to the Skies was released on PS, Play It Again Sam, who at the time were just full of people who got it, and they were a great independent label. I think now we're on So Records, who are pretty much the only truly independent record. They're not a subsidiary of a larger major label,
right?
Which is it's hard to do in the current sort of climate. But they're smashing it and they're awesome. But in between those 2 labels, we've done all sorts and tried all sorts of deals, but it's been an interesting run.
Well, I imagine it must be a very specific type of label that would be able to handle a band like you guys, because you're all so talented in many different creative fields and, very much involved in your own destiny and in the driving seat of your own careers. I can imagine that could be intimidating or frustrating for some labels. So it's great that you've managed to find a home where you guys are able to still maintain that level of control. I mean, as far down the road as you are now with things, are you still very much completely involved in all aspects of things, or are you able to kick back a little bit more now?
Yeah, absolutely everything. And I think like everyone is to a degree, like, often I find it funny when you see like fans saying like perhaps like sticking up for their favorite artist who's done something like that's a bit shit, or it started doing, say for instance, like paid meet and greets,
right,
like charging their fans to meet them, and then their fans will go, oh, but it's not their decision, it's their management or their label has like coaxed them into this. Like,
yeah.
Well, that's not, you don't have to do anything you don't want to do, like I think there's there can be kind of willful ignorance in that respect from the artist's position. But at the end of the day, for us, it's very much, I don't know, you could call us control freaks, or I would just say it's kind of naturally what you want for your art. You want to know everything about it. You want to know how it's being released. You want to, be involved in everything. And certainly in terms of the creative kind of area of the band, like we've never let that go whatsoever. So even on that brief stint when we were on Interscope, like it was funny because we got on really well with the people there, like, and I think they did like get what we were trying to do and stuff. But there was some like funny situations where the A&R representative was in the studio with us and was like, oh, what if the chorus like did this, or what if we got to the chorus quicker, or these
right, fuck off, pal.
Yeah, and we were like, sorry, you do know who you're speaking to. Yeah.
Jesus Christ, you're the gall of some people, man. I'm sure he meant well, you know what I mean? I'm always fascinated by people's relationships with their label, because you hear so many bad fucking stories from bands, about being shafted by their labels and stuff. So yeah, I'm super interested to know how you guys are getting on with the new guys, and tell us more about them.
Yeah, so it's So Records, as I say, kind of the only real independent left. Kind of self-funded. They have like a sister label which does primarily classical music, like film soundtracks and things like that. Sweet. Which is awesome. And then they have the rock label, which does us, Placebo. Just released the new 100 Reasons album, which, oh man, I'm just overjoyed that they're back. I've always been one of my favorite bands. A brilliant label. Like you get the sort of the attention and the passion that you want. I think, as an artist, you want your team to truly understand your message and what you're trying to achieve,
right?
And be like, you don't want to have to enthuse them. They should be enthused by the music. If you want people who are going to bring that energy. That's what we've got from them. We've only released one album with them. Well, about to be 2 albums with them, with our new one. It's been going great so far.
That's wicked, man. I'm glad to hear that, dude, because the terrain has changed so much now, hasn't it, for artists? There's so many more avenues available for releasing your music, and you guys have been successful and have experience in several different models now, be it independent or with a label or a combination of the two. But what is the overall most important thing that you need, regardless of the model, as a band now at this stage for releasing your music?
Speed, perhaps, for us.
Right.
To give it sort of a broad term, like the real struggles we've had is when we've got an idea and, so put it into like a solid example. I always remember the video shoot we did for our track that was released after our first album. It was like a bridging single, Destabilized. And we had this idea and we were able to just get it done. And I co-directed that with a friend, and it was just a few of us in this location that we got. And there's something about the energy when an idea is being conceived that is just like really pure and really electric, and you get something done and you can get it out there quick. But the times when we've been in deals that aren't so perhaps like flexible, or they aren't able to give you the attention that you want to get things out quickly. That's been the worst, when you have to go through layers of bureaucracy to like either like release the funding for like a video, or you want to release a single that isn't part of an album campaign, and it's just like
Yeah.
there's always so many, or sometimes in some deals there's just so many levels you have to like go through to like get to finally release some art. So it can be incredibly frustrating. So like I think concentrating on the accelerated process is something that's been key to us, because it's then that the art feels a bit more pure. It doesn't feel stale to us, and we can still like go and perform it and be like super excited by it when it hasn't been sitting in the cupboard for 6 months. Yeah.
A lot of people say that. Yeah, it's like the bigger the label, the bigger the bullshit almost, because you are not their only horse in the race. You got to wait for ages. I've had that conversation several times. So I guess there's like a sweet spot, which it sounds as if you guys are in now, where you can have the level of efficiency that you want, so it's still fresh and exciting by the time it hits the stage,
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I feel very, very grateful for the position we're in at the moment. It does feel, kind of gratifying and satisfying.
Nice.
I think there's a weird sense of, so I don't know whether it's Moore's law or what, or kind of just the general rat race and the hedonistic treadmill, whatever you want to call it, where an artist, when you get to a certain level, you're never satisfied and you always want more. You get to the level we've been at for a while. Every band that we sort of look sideways and we see like our peers, they're all like striving to get bigger and like striving to make sure every tour they do is an arena tour, and it's just exhausting. And I don't think it's that satisfying either. So like I don't have some massive ambition to be like a huge, like arena worldwide selling band. Like that's not really what we're about. So because that isn't in our ambition, we don't need a major label. We don't need that extra like serious oomph now, where you can hold the radio. Those who pick radio playlists, you can hold them by the throat of the wall and go, "You will support this band." We don't. We don't kind of require that. So I think we're in a really good position, and we're comfortable with the kind of what's sort of available to us, if you like, in terms of growth and sustainability.
Yeah, and I think you guys have got the most important thing, which is you've got an awesome, loyal, passionate, hardcore audience that fucking love the band and have followed you guys for a long time. That is something that no label can give you, and it's not something that any label can take away from you as well. Like, you guys have built that, you know what I mean? And I'd be interested to know, because, not only is the band fucking kick-ass, and you guys have been working hard consistently and putting out good stuff now for so long, but I mean, there's lots of bands who are good and work hard, but they don't have that level of Enter Shikari shit happening for them, So why do you think that is? What do you attribute that to?
Oh, it's a tough one, man, because it's like I don't know any different, you know what I mean? So I don't have a great deal to compare it to.
Yeah, of course.
I often thought it was something to do with our the sort of breadth, if you like, of like the diversity in terms of our music.
Yeah.
We've always tried to make music that's, well, not tried, we always have made music that's like it has a great deal of variety, because that's what I was brought up with. So it's like very natural for me to make that kind of music. And so what happens when the music is varied is there's always a degree of surpassing or dodging people's expectations.
Right. Yeah.
And so there's an element of not so much shock. It's not like what we're trying to do is shock people. That doesn't massively interest me. But it's I think even our worst songs are interesting, and like every like album we release, I'm pretty sure it's interesting. And so I think that what that does is it sustains a sort of core element of a fan base. If you bring out the same album again and again, you can have massive success, but there is an element of loyalty that you gain from having music that takes effort to understand.
Right.
It's not just, Tom York used to describe it as fridge buzz. You know, this kind. If you're making music that's just completely bland and banal,
Yeah.
you may get a very enthusiastic following, but like they haven't put much into it, into the sort of equation, if you like, to understand the music.
Yeah.
And so when you've got that, I think it gives you a greater deal of appreciation for your audience, and then vice versa as well. It's just a greater connection, I suppose. If you've had to like think about what you're listening to, you're connected to it in a deeper way than if it's just like this background, middle of the road radio fodder.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's a load of other things as well, but I suppose consistency and like honesty, I think that's really important to us, like authenticity. Like I think we've never really tried to be anything that we're not. We've never tried to sort of, as I said before, like take over the world, or the amount of bands that I've seen, and that's been the headline, that's been the one-liner that they'll kind of tout on all the magazine covers that they'll get, and they'll sort of come and go. And yeah, I think people understand with us that they're getting something that's real, and the passion and the dynamism is real.
I completely agree with that. Yeah, I was going to say that as well as all of those things, I think it's the topics as well. I mean, you guys have always spoken about things that are real, whether it's personal, social, political, environmental, whatever. And I think that gives it that extra layer of depth and connectivity then that people resonate with, isn't it? Rather than, like you say, the example of the 2.5 minute earworm that's an absolute banger for fucking 3 weeks, and then that's it, it's over, you're sick of it. But you guys have got so many different layers of depth that are real and mean something to people. And I think the words have a big part to play in that as well.
Yeah, I think it's the same sort of thing. If people are thinking about the themes and the topics within a song, they're going to feel greatly connected to it. And more so if it was just something that was just a repeated line, or the same old topics and lyrics that we've heard again and again.
Yeah,
and that's just, it's kind of just what we were brought up to think was normal. I was first of all brought up with Motown and Northern Soul, and that kind of the lyrics were often quite thoughtful and melancholy and kind of beautiful, but in a kind of aching way. And then obviously it got extremely much more sort of politicized as the kind of movement went on.
Yeah.
And then as a teenager I discovered our local hardcore punk scene, and when you're running around like a headless chicken on the stage shouting your head off, like for me it was the complete norm for the music and the lyrics so that obviously it would be about something that singer believed in. And so it's strange for me. I've had some interesting experiences especially over the last sort of 5 years, and I tried a bit of like pop songwriting and stuff, and I'm really glad I did it, and I felt like I grew quite a lot as a songwriter. But like it's a totally different thing. It's very mechanical, very there's no sort of sense of soul or meaning to it. It's you are creating a commodity.
Factory music,
and that's completely unnatural for me to do. Like music for me is an incredibly emotional, cathartic kind of release, and it's a way of organizing my thoughts about myself and about the world. And so it's just been something that's quite normal for us.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same, man. I mean, when I grew up, it was always those artists that had something to say that I just seemed to be more drawn to. They were more interesting, like Pink Floyd, Roger Waters, Frank Zappa, Rage Against the Machine, The Clash, whoever it was. I just, there's loads of cool bands that I love, but the ones that had that fucking intrigue about them, we always had something to say. They always had that little edge, you know what I mean? And I think that counts for a lot. I wanted to ask, what role do you feel that art does play in advancing progress and change? Do you feel it has a role to play, and if so, how important do you think it is?
I've kind of gone back and forth on this like over the years. I think what I can say with certainty, not just from my own experience as an artist, but my own experience as an audience member, as a supporter of music and other bands and artists, is that it's fuel for the fire. It's like if people are feeling disconnected or lonely or full of rage whatever it is, whatever crisis of the current many crises that we have that's affecting them, the music can be a way of channeling that, a way of thinking positively. It can make you feel very activated as an activist. And I mean that either literally as an activist or as like in more of a sort of broad term. It makes you feel like doing something, even if that isn't like actual activism per se. It means like you might change something about your own life, or think about something in a different way. And that's what music, certifiably does. It's a fuel. It motivates you. It galvanizes people. It's really the only thing that brings us all together indiscriminately left that we have. I think sport does that to a certain extent, but it's not really indiscriminate because we have teams.
Quite divisive as well.
It's competitive. Whereas music on the most part isn't that. And that's, even like the modern day festival, it's kind of the only thing we have left that just brings us together to celebrate our kind of, when you look at it in a deep way, it's like our shared vulnerability. We're all impacted by this music that we're about to hear. It's going to hit us in an emotional sense. It's going to remind us that we're all the same. We all work in the same way. And that's something that's becoming increasingly more important to remind us of that in a world that's just becoming more and more divisive and tribalistic.
Oh yeah.
So it might not be some, I hesitate to make sort of very grand statements about it, music being this power that can change the world and all this, but it can be a galvanizing, motivating force for sure.
100%, man. Yeah, and brilliantly put as well. I mean, as you said, we need that now more than ever. I mean, Jesus Christ, as we look at the state of the country, and in fact, the world does not seem to be going in a very good direction right now, to put it politely. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're someone that's traveled the world. You're clearly tuned in and enlightened on these issues, and you've got an interesting perspective on it all because of what you do. What do you think are our main pressing issues facing us, not just as a nation, but as a global community right now?
I mean, it's thoroughly depressing and disorientating. Like the list of crises just grow and grow by the day. I think the main thing that sort of frustrates me is that people often don't look at the links. It's the, especially like in the media, it's the most immediate shocking thing that's plastered everywhere, and there isn't sort of room or space or time to actually look at the core reasons that, whichever crisis it is, why it's happening.
Yeah.
And that's something that's just, I don't know, it's just heartbreaking because, like, I mean, one of the things we've spoken about since day one is system change. And it's amazing now, like, seeing the kind of youthful energy and fortitude and galvanization that's coming through for actual system change. Like this was something that 15 years ago no one was addressing, no one was speaking about, and what's happened in those 15 years is we've gone so far in terms of breaching the boundaries of our planet, really, that we cannot now expect to fix problems with just like band-aids, like, oh, we'll just change this law, we'll just do this little fix and this little thing. Like, that's just, we're so far gone that we need system change.
Yeah, 100%. I think your analysis is bang on. I do a lot of political episodes on the podcast, and that is always what it comes down to. It's like, yes, we can campaign for this cause or this issue, and there are gains to be made in those areas, and they're all necessary in driving us in the right direction. But as you say, without the broader systemic change, we are not going to make any progress, certainly on issues like climate change, which is priority number one for everybody on this planet right now.
Oh, mate, yeah.
The problem is that the people in charge, who are like behind the wheel of this fucking high-speed burning train that's heading towards the edge of a cliff, they have a vested interest in the system staying exactly as it is and function essentially, as far as I'm concerned, as a kind of collective sociopathic organism that doesn't seem to care at all that they're heading us towards Armageddon.
Yeah, well, I think the thing is the system has a sort of inbuilt protective nature because it promotes and rewards narcissists sociopaths, psychopaths, because really, if you look at it, that's what it demands. It demands us from day one to compete against each other for our own stability and then our own profit. So a system that just at its very core is setting us all against each other, like market-based economics at its very core, it sets us all against each other. And what is a kind of logical, rational way to survive that? It's by becoming a self-interested, narcissistic, like brute.
Yeah.
Really. So it's almost like a defense mechanism that the system has within it. That it's always going to promote the people who will most protect this system, because it's kind of birthed them, and it's kind of given them power, it's given them wealth, and now they're obviously going to want to protect what they've built up. So it's this incredible kind of almost like a catch-22, just like infuriating situation where change isn't going to come from the top. And I know that's a bit of a cliche, but like systems protect themselves, and so we have to like start building something new, even before like tearing this down. We have to concentrate on the ways that we can start new kind of communities or organize communities differently, start local and all this kind of thing. I think that aspect is pivotal. And then just like creating awareness of the deeper thinking, thinking about systems theory, thinking about, what is the core kind of problem? I think that's the only way, really, like kind of just education, and making people aware of just how bad things are, but just how kind of massively we need change, and on such a deep level, which in a way it should be kind of exciting. We're living at an incredible time where we need to change this kind of this juggernaut of a system, this behemoth that's like we've had for centuries, and obviously capitalism has gone through very kind of morphed and it's changed from feudalism onwards, but like it's now we're living at an era where we need such dramatic change. It's actually hopefully it should feel quite thrilling, if you kind of put aside the fact that if we don't achieve anything in the next 100 years, the prospect of the annihilation of human civilization is very much on the cards.
Yeah.
There's a lot. We talked a lot about this on the last album, Nothing is True and Everything is Possible. And I got to speak with Toby Ord, who is an incredible philosopher at Oxford University, and he puts the chances at 1 in 6 that we might have a complete catastrophic civilizational collapse. So it's not great chances, but the odds still are in our favor, and we've got the kind of the ability, we've got the science, the technology, we've got it all. We just need to tear down what is so bad for us.
Amen, man, and brilliantly put as well, man. I mean, I think you hit on a key word there, which is that of community, because as you said, the system is kind of it's a self-perpetuating system, and the mindset shift that we've all had to have imposed upon us as a result of having to survive in that system is that we've also kind of become part of that transactional capitalistic mindset. Whether we realize it or not, it's invaded so many parts of our mind, and as a result, our psyche, that I think it's just a survival thing. In order to survive within that system, you have to kind of become it as well. I think we've all been tainted by this, what I would call the Thatcherite, Reaganistic mindset shift, the cultural shift in society. That of the individual, whereas that's not always the way that it was. And I think the antidote to that, and the counterattack to that, is community, is in actually coming together as a community and helping each other and working together on our shared solutions. And of course, harking back to what you said earlier, music is a great catalyst for that and a great galvanizer of people and communities. But man, we have got one hell of a fight ahead of us, man, because the enemies are clearly winning right now. And they've done a very good job of fragmenting us and dividing us and removing us of our collective power.
Yeah. I always find it fascinating. Like any audience of any artist really, even not just speaking about music specifically, that an audience is sort of a microcosm of what society could be or should be. This is very, very supportive. We talk about like fandoms, they're like incredibly supportive families, really. I mean, we call our fan base like the Shikari family, because it's amazing. They're like they step in where society has failed, where the various ways that a state has helped its citizens, and where they've been torn down and taken away. Like sometimes, like these communities step in to kind of fill those gaps, and it's amazing how you see these, people offering each other such support, and that's the beautiful thing about community and about compassion, is it's incredibly contagious. Once you kind of relive it again and you experience it again, you want to. We literally say this on stage often, like, you want to take this feeling that we've got inside the venue tonight and you want to bring it out into the world, because it's like, wow, this is what's been missing from my life. This sense of inclusion, this sense of togetherness. It's just something that's been completely sort of stripped free in terms of our society as a whole.
100%, man. Beautifully put. I mean, yeah, live music in particular really is that communion that reconnects us to our primal selves and our primal, sense of community, and all of the things that are kind of being deprived of us elsewhere in our lives and in society. Kind of, we reconnect with that at a live concert, And that's why I think it's just such a beautiful and powerful thing, what a band like you guys give to the world and give to your fans, because you bring that joy and that reconnection and to our primal selves and our sense of community. You were delivering that to people night after night.
Awesome. Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's the same with any any artist to agree. It's something that where you share that sense of a sense of a story, that sense of togetherness, that sense of feeling one and feeling connected to other people. It's beautiful and severely lacking in our society.
100%, man. And speaking of that society, how do you feel when you look at the state of the country that we both live in at the moment? And what, if anything, do you think we can do to dig ourselves out of this?
I don't know. It's almost like I feel a sense of exhaustion about even just talking about this stuff. It's like, it's so hard to, I have no sort of pithy, uplifting answer to that question. It's just
it's relentless. Yeah, man.
For me, it's, I mean, the first things first, just getting rid of the Tories has to be the number one
100%
thing on everybody's plates. Essentially it's a government of criminals. It's gone so far now and so long, and I think for the first time, it's actually, in a long time, it actually looks hopeful, when you look at the polls and things. But then, of course, you see Starmer and you see someone who isn't exactly offering something that's massively different. So, on one portion of this podcast, I'm talking about system change, and then I'm talking about Keir Starmer as the one step in the right direction. It's not really. All it is a relief for those who have been beaten down so much by the Conservative Party.
Yeah.
So I think there is a sort of an ethical duty to get the Conservative Party out just for that reason. But I don't think anything in a real big way will change. I think that, as I say, that's going to come from other places. But yeah, it's just this fascinating, infuriating, criminal fucking circus at the moment, and it's utterly exhausting. So I think, for me, for instance, like I don't have a great deal to say at the moment because I just haven't been following it. I'm very lucky that I have this sort of bubble that I live in with the band, and there's so much to concentrate at the moment with the album that I'm just like, I'm not following it. And I think sometimes that's important to say because we all need to give ourselves a rest from it every now and then.
Oh, dude, I'm so glad to hear you say that, man, because I feel exactly the same. And we do all feel a pressure to kind of, be as clued up as we can and to keep the fight going and to, not let these fuckers slip anything by us, but it is fucking exhausting, man. And it's really bad for your mental health as well. So I think you saying that as someone that obviously is in the spotlight and is expected to have answers for everything at the drop of a dime, I think will make a lot of people feel better about their own situation because, yeah, man, Jesus Christ, it's fucking exhausting.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Cause it's a really like debilitating, you don't want to be so plugged into it and so constantly enraged that you start to end up basically becoming a nihilist, which is really the kind of worst of the worst, because you're completely inactive. You kind of just step back from it all, and of course, people think that that's kind of you're then just not an actor. You're kind of relinquishing any sort of ability or responsibility, and it's a kind of a freeing thing for you personally. But of course, it's all it really is doing is just letting the powerful continue.
Yeah.
And so for me, every sort of few years, I seem to take these. I'm about probably 6 months into it, and as I say, I've had a lot of music creation, all these things that I'm very lucky to be able to have. In that I do have this bubble to go into, this just kind of dream world to escape it all. But if you don't give yourself those kind of months off, if you like, and those moments of escape, whether it's being in amongst nature, reminding yourself of human connection and concentrating on the small communities that we have and that we can cherish, if you don't do that, we'll just become completely inactive. And essentially that's what they being the most powerful people in society, the guardians of the status quo, if you like, that's what they want. They want us to be completely inactive, exhausted, useless. They want us to feel powerless. That's something that I've talked about a lot on this new album. The more you're convinced that you're powerless, the less you will use any power you have. The more you will shrink and shrink. And so that's exactly how they want us. They want us knackered and thinking of ourselves as small and up against this mighty thing. And every now and then it's very easy to fall into that. So yeah, I think having a break is an incredibly important thing. But I also understand that, for instance, if that little clip was supposed to edited and presented by itself, I also understand that people would then say, "Oh, but you're just lucky that you have somewhere to go and you can get out of the way of the intensity of it all." Yes, I'm very aware that I'm incredibly lucky to have this band. But that was
going to be the clip I was going to use as well. Shit.
yeah. There's always a way to criticize anything, but I think it's a relevant criticism. I'm a very lucky person, but hopefully I'll come back kind of feeling much more rejuvenated and much more powerful when we start touring again and we can start being in the communities that we play in, and we can start talking to people and seeing what we can do.
No, I totally agree with that, man. I got a lot of activist friends who are very, very active all of the time. And they go through so many episodes of just crushing depression and debilitation and apathy and nihilism and all the things that you've quite correctly mentioned. And it's a really detrimental effect on their personal lives and their relationships and their health and everything, because they're just deep into this stuff all day, every day, and they're fighting an uphill battle every day. And there's no off switch to it. This is their cause and it's what they're consumed by. And I just see the detrimental effect it has on them as a friend, And I keep saying to them, guys, you've got to take some time off. You're a human being. There's nothing wrong with doing that. Take some time off. And then when you come back, you're going to be fitter, stronger, have more clarity, you're going to be more resilient, you're going to feel better, you're going to have a lot more fight in you, and you're going to be able to achieve a lot more if you just take some fucking time off. I know it's difficult to do because I've been in that hole myself, but I really think it is an essential part of effective activism.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's almost like a sort of cliche now, but even a smile is a revolutionary act, because you're going against the will to be beaten down at the moment and fatigued and kind of just destroyed in terms of your your hope. Which is if you don't have hope, you can't act. So it's like anything that builds sort of resilience and community and hope is like, it's just the most important thing.
Love it. And are you hopeful right now?
I think you have to be in order to be alive. If you're not hopeful at all, then you are a nihilist, or you are a fatalist, or you are evil. You know what I mean? Like, there's a glimmer of hope in all of us, even the most kind of bedraggled and sort of frustrated. But I think as soon as we get out on the road as well, and we start speaking to people, I become, my hope sort of inflates, if you like. Right. We did a book release sort of signing and talk thing for our biography that was released last year, and I remember the amount of sort of real, like, incentivized, motivated energy that night gave me. Like, 1 minute I was meeting an NHS doctor, the next minute I was meeting this geoengineering student, and then the next minute it was someone who was like surprisingly high up in terms of like climate change solutions in government. And all these people, it's just like, what?
Oh yeah,
music can bring like some people from all kind of backgrounds together, and it's and when you see them infused by music, whether it's ours or other people's, it then infuses the artists to make more, and it's just this lovely sort of cyclical sort of structuring of hope. It just gets passed back and forth, and it builds and it grows. So it's something that I'm really looking forward to with the album that we're about to release, because I just know once we start hearing from people, once we start playing it and getting in rooms in front of people, it's going to be something that just blossoms.
Oh, I bet you can't wait, man. Well, look, let's steer out of the bleak waters of politics and let's get back to the music. One thing I want to ask you about as an independent artist is work-life balance, because for me, having to do everything myself, working 24 hours a day, having to juggle 15 different roles at any one point. You kind of alluded to it earlier, that your job essentially at the moment is firefighting. One fire out and then 6 more turn up behind you. So as someone that's been doing this pretty consistently now, man, how do you maintain your work-life balance?
Oh, it's incredibly hard. I think, anyone at the kind of any level that isn't being on a major label and having a massive team sort of has to become like this multi-tool wielding, no sleeping sort of robot where you do so much yourself. I mean, I'm lucky that I've at least I speak to a lot of solo artists who literally have to do everything themselves. But like, I've got a band at least, and we all do have our strengths, and we all do chip in a lot. But it's relentless at the moment. We're doing everything from like programming the lighting show for our next tour, and then we're planning the production for festival season, and at the same time I'm directing the videos on this kind of album campaign. Nice. We've done 2, we've got 2 more singles coming out with videos. So it's just sort of non-stop. There's the artwork. You just have to be brutal. You have to be like really stubborn and just like make sure you make time for it, but it just means something has to suffer, and you get to choose whether that's your own mental and physical health, or whether that's something in terms of your work. And it's obviously a hard choice to have to make that choice, but that's not to sort of denigrate the amazing teams that we have around us, but there's a lot of that essence of DIY hasn't left us at all.
What I'm hearing here, Rou, is you don't have a work-life balance. You're just working your ass off all of the time, right?
Well, I suppose most people are. It's that we're now entering the era of capitalism where any hobby has to be like capitalized on. Everything has to be a side hustle. Yeah. Like there's just no spare time. You're either studying or you're working, or you're hustling in some way. Right. It's just it's all a bit gross, isn't it, really? But that's where we're at the moment.
I think that's a clip I'm going to use. It's all a bit gross, isn't it? But that's just where we're at. That's the clip. Right. Well, you've just mentioned all of the things you do, and I want to get on to what's happening with the band because I don't want to keep it too much longer. Because I know you know, if you could do anything right now, you could probably do with some fucking time off, interviews, and working on the band. Which whether you'll do that or not, I don't know. But before I get into what's happening with you guys, I got to ask you something because I released an album in the lockdown called Make Anger Great Again, which was like a political punk rock record. It was a new project because my band had broken up, so I was kind of, going a solo route with a new band. So I needed like a new logo, new branding, all that sort of stuff. And I came up with this idea that I thought looked cool as fuck on paper. It was like I took the hierarchy triangle and I inverted it so that it was like the many at the top and the fewest at the bottom. And I framed it within the circle, representing equality and the circle of life and all that sort of stuff. And I thought, man, that looks fucking kick-ass. So I just raced ahead and put it on my CD and my merch and my fucking artwork and all that sort of stuff. Put it out there feeling very proud of myself. And then, album comes out and I start getting, a barrage of tweets from pissed off Enter Shikari fans pointing out in no uncertain terms that, hey, you do know that that's Enter Shikari's logo, right?
Wow.
I was like, for fuck's sake.
I'm not sure that we can even claim, that we came up with that. As you say, it's just like, it's kind of symbology, isn't it, really? And we're just using symbology to kind of say what sounds like exactly the same thing, which is kind of beautiful. Yeah, no, I love it.
Was that the thinking behind the logo?
You described it exactly. Yeah.
Right.
I remember, I think it was like our third album that we first used it. I mean, it was firstly just the inverted triangle and the circle was in a kind of addition, as time went on. But, because it was essentially a bit of our lighting production. At first we had these kind of LED bars that made the triangle for, flash flood of color. We kind of stuck with it ever since because it's just like a kind of, it's not often that you get symbology that is sort of concise, simple.
Yeah.
It says a lot and it's like easy to to understand. So like, yeah, we've stuck with it ever since.
So what do I do? Do I have to fucking bin my merch or am I okay for a bit? You're not going to sue my ass?
No, mate, no. I've definitely seen other artists as well use, an upside down triangle. Names escape me.
I've seen a couple, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure many of us have the same thought process and the same kind of artistic license, really, don't we? So yeah, no, go for it.
You.
Solidarity.
Oh, thanks, man. And next time I get an ass kicking off your fans, I'll say, look, Rou said it's okay, all right?
Yeah.
Right, we're moving swiftly on. We got to end up by telling everybody what is coming up in Camp Shikari because you guys have got tons of cool shit coming up. So tell everybody what's coming up.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, A Kiss for the Whole World is our new album. It's out on April the 21st, which I finally memorized. It was an album that was written after a very prolonged period of like not being able to write at all. So I was one of those people that over the kind of lockdown period just couldn't write. Most people, it seemed, were incredibly productive. But yeah, that was kind of a pretty grim time. I mean, it's a grim time for all of us, obviously. But then after we started playing shows again, I felt like I was refueled and re-energized and felt that sense of purpose and human connection again. And that's what this album is. It's an extremely excited, I think, relieved album. You can sense this sense of relief. Like, oh my God, we can create again. We can put this output, I can stretch out into the world. And, that's why it's called A Kiss for the Whole World, which is also feels like what the whole world needs right now, really.
Oh, yes.
But yeah, there's some incredibly exciting songs on the record that we're just starting to play live. And it's just so nice being able to do that straight away. Write a song, release it, play it live, instead of waiting a year and a half, which is what we had to do on the last album. Seeing them in their full form and seeing that cyclical energy in the live sense has been amazing. But yeah, no, we're touring all over the shop this year and next, I imagine. We're headlining Slam Dunk Festival in May. Yeah, and just going to be all over the shop. Really, can't wait.
Doing your thing. I was going to plug the live shows, but they're mostly sold out already, so there's not a lot of point.
Yeah. Slam Dunk's the only one that in the UK only that isn't sold out yet. But I've heard it's well on its way. So we'll hopefully announce some other stuff as the year goes on.
Awesome stuff. I know everyone is going to be super excited, as is demonstrated by the fact that the tour is essentially sold out already. I know the album is going to be an absolute banger, and it's going to do just as well, if not better, as everything else you guys have done. So, Rou, I'm going to let you go off and get some rest, or jump onto the other 6 fires that you've now got to put out that have started since you've been talking to my ass. And best wishes, my friend, with everything coming up. Thanks so much for taking the time out to speak with us today. I really appreciate it. It's been a fascinating chat. And best wishes with everything coming up. And I hope to see you again soon.
Man, all good. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure speaking to you.
Anytime at all, my man. Thanks again for everything you do and everything you give. And hopefully we'll see you out there in the trenches really soon.
Cheers, mate.
Thank you, Rou. Best wishes, mate. Take care.
Take care. Ciao.
See you, man. Ta-da.
Bye.
Rou Reynolds, ladies and gentlemen, put it together for him. What a cool dude, what a generous dude, what an intelligent, switched on, and fucking annoyingly talented dude, as well as a super nice guy. You can hear the brand new single, the absolute fucking banger, Bloodshot, which is out now from the forthcoming new album. And I would urge all of you to immediately go and follow the amazing Enter Shikari on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and everything you can find at Enter Shikari at entershikari.com. Those guys put up tons of awesome content from their amazing live shows. I would definitely recommend following them. It's super cool stuff. If you want to show Rou some love as well, check out his socials at Rou Reynolds on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And basically just check out everything that Enter Shikari have ever done. I mean, I don't know who I'm talking to at this point, because everybody knows who Enter Shikari. I'm doing my best to do the podcast thing of plug in the guest. But in all honesty, who doesn't know who Enter Shikari are, for Christ's sake? You don't need me to tell you how fucking awesome they are and why you should go and follow them. You're already following them anyway, but I gotta do my thing. And again, it's no surprise to me that Rou is so articulate and so informed and so well balanced in his views, because he's demonstrated that year after year after year through his song lyrics and his interviews and his general demeanor and his writings as well. But I thought he had some really interesting and useful and insightful points to be made earlier about activism and politics and the power of art and the music business and all sorts of stuff. It was a really interesting chat from a really cool dude. And I know that he's really maxed out at the moment with promo and putting out fires, as you mentioned. So again, I really am grateful and thankful for him for coming on and giving us his time. Hopefully we'll get him on at some point again in the future. And when that happens, you're going to know all about it, because you're going to have subscribed, aren't you? You're going to have hit the subscribe button. You're going to hit the follow. You're going to hit ratings. You're going to leave me a comment, even if it's a bad one. I don't care. You're going to give me something that's going to help me stick it to the algorithm and start nudging this thing out there. So get clicking, because we have got some awesome guests coming up. Continuing next week. We're not dropping the ball here, baby. So thanks for listening. Thanks for all the support, and I shall see you next week. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and don't forget what Rou said. When it's all getting too much, there's no shame in just unplugging and recharging and reconnecting with what makes us all human in the first place, so that we can get back in the trenches and start kicking some Tory ass with renewed vigor. Love you loads, guys. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.